I never imagined my night shift as a security guard would lead to a life-changing moment. I still remember the surge of adrenaline, the eerie hush that filled the air. Shadows flickered against the walls, whispering secrets I wasn't meant to hear. I'll never forget the feeling of unease creeping over me, making my heart race and palms sweat. My job? Just to keep things safe. But that night, everything shifted to it was already past midnight when I heard Ida's soft thud echoing through the empty hallway. My stomach dropped. There, just out of sight, something was moving. I stepped cautiously forward, each footfall heavy with anticipation. My flashlight beam danced nervously over the cracked linoleum, illuminating nothing but a forgotten corner. But I sensed it. Something was lurking. I thought about Anna, my girlfriend, who would sometimes complain about how late I'd come home. "You'll get a real job one day," she teased, half joking. I missed her smile. The late-night contract work kept food on the table, but it was tough being apart. Was she worried now? I couldn't shake the feeling that something dark loomed close, tightening around me like a coil ready to snap. Then I saw it, an old, rusty door ajar at the end of the hallway. It wasn't part of my usual rounds. My breath caught, cold air poured out, swirling around my body, triggering a sense of foreboding. I'd heard stories about this place, things that never made it to the surface. Was there something behind that door? The curiosity pulled at me like a tightrope stretched to the limit. I swallowed hard. The silence was like a weight in my chest. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, I took a deep breath, steeling my nerves, and pushed the door open. It creaked ominously, sending a shiver down my spine. The room inside was dark, almost suffocating. I flicked my flashlight around, and that's when I saw a glimmer of something metallic on the floor. Catching the light, I stepped closer, my heart racing, chanting a mantra in my head. Just a job, just a job. But it wasn't just a job anymore. My instincts screamed at me. I bent down, and as I reached for the object, the floorboards groaned beneath my feet. A voice echoed in my mind, one I recognized but had almost forgotten. "You must find it before it's too late." The words hung in the air like smoke. I was already in too deep, the shadows whispering louder now. Before I could process what was happening, I noticed something else, a series of footprints leading deeper into the room. They weren't mine. And they didn't look human. I pulled back, panic surging through my veins. I stumbled, scrambling to regain my footing, my breaths quickening with each passing heartbeat. I couldn't go in there. I needed answers. Something was about to unfold, something I was not prepared for. Who had been there before me? What was it that I was meant to find? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The echo of my heartbeat drowned out everything else, the panic pushing against my chest like a vice. The footprints were deeper now, a riddle that dared me to unravel it. Shadows morphed around me, their whispers growing more insistent. I stumbled back from the doorway, crashing against the wall. My mind raced, spinning in circles of fear and confusion. What had I stumbled into? In the chaos, an unexpected flicker of hope emerged. Anna's laughter from our last video call, the way her eyes sparkled when she played with our cat, Luna. I closed my eyes, imagining her smile, a momentary refuge from the suffocating darkness. "In doing this for us," I murmured, rallying against the tightening grip of dread. I needed to push through, but as I glanced back down the hallway, a flicker of movement caught my eye. The darkness shifted, coalescing into something more defined but just as indistinct, a fleeting figure darting behind another closed door. My heart raced again, this time more defiantly. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling against the stillness. No answer. Just silence, thick with secrets. Steeling myself, I approached the door the figure had vanished behind. Each step felt like an eternity, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I hadn't signed up for this. Was it too late to back away from the unknown? I took a deep breath, ignoring the voice telling me to turn back. I was here now. I had to see this through. With a shaky grip on the handle, I pushed the door open. It swung wide, revealing a cramped room with faded posters lining the walls and shards of broken furniture scattered across the floor. It felt as if time had paused in this forgotten space. But at the far end, a figure stood, silhouetted against the faint light filtering through a grimy window. The figure turned around and my breath caught in my throat because it was a girl about Anna's age, wide-eyed and trembling, clearly as frightened as I was. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Who are you?" I asked, stepping closer. But then my gut twisted, a surge of protectiveness blinded my uncertainty. The vulnerability in her eyes shadowed my own fears. "They're coming for me," she breathed, her gaze darting around the room as if expecting an unseen force to break in. "You don't understand, they know I'm here." "Who knows?" My heart pounded, the urgency in her tone snapping into focus. "What happened?" She stepped back, and I could sense her desperation. "It was supposed to be just a hideout. I didn't think I'd be found. They're looking for something, and they think I know where it is." Confusion raced through my mind, intertwined with growing anxiety. Something was happening here, something bigger than both of us. But I couldn't leave her here. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice steadying with conviction. "We need to get out of here." Before she could respond, a loud crash resonated nearby, the sound of a door being kicked down. My blood ran cold as the memory of a life spent protecting faded into the background. I wasn't just a security guard now. I was standing at the edge of something I couldn't yet comprehend. "Hide," I hissed, scanning the room for a possible escape. I spotted an old maintenance closet lightly ajar and gestured for her to go. We both dove inside, hearts pounding like a drum echoing off the walls. As we crouched in the dark, the commotion grew louder. My instincts screamed danger. Whoever was searching was close. "We need to stay quiet," I whispered, heart in my throat. Moments passed, each seemingly dragging out into infinity, the sounds outside heightening with tension. Then, a figure loomed in the doorway, casting a long shadow over our hiding place. I held my breath, desperate for any distraction, an ounce of salvation. Suddenly, my phone vibrated in my pocket, an unexpected intrusion within the rising chaos. Against all reason, I pulled it out. The screen lit up, revealing Anna's name, a message tinged with her worry and love. "Where are you? I can't reach you," but the scent of danger thickened as I weighed my choice: silent communication with my soulmate against the imminent threat looming just outside. I hesitated as the figure stepped closer, breathless tension stretching the moments into unbearable lengths. "Please, answer," the girl beside me whispered, clutching my arm, fear radiating from her. My choice could change everything. The thud of my heart stole my breath as I stared at the phone, the light illuminating Anna's name like a beacon in an oppressive darkness. I wanted to respond, to reassure her that I was okay, that I would be home soon. But the oppressive shadow hovering at the door reminded me that this wasn't about me anymore. It was about the girl crouching silently beside me, whose eyes mirrored my own fear. "Just a second," I whispered, my thumb hovering over the screen. I wished more than anything to be far away from this moment, to be in the glow of our living room with Anna. But I couldn't be. Not yet. Not like this. Steeling myself, I pressed down on the button and the screen instantly darkened, plunging us back into the cool dark of the closet. I inhaled deeply, filling my lungs with the stale air, trying to mask the scent of dread. "Who are they?" I asked the girl, keeping my voice as low as I could manage. She leaned closer, her head brushing against my shoulder, a faint shiver working through her body. "I don't know," she whispered. "But if they find me, they'll want to use me for something. I can't let them." Each word dripped with a desperate urgency that caught in my throat, tightening my resolve. Another crash echoed through the building, and my instincts kicked in. The figure in the doorway shifted restlessly, and my pulse quickened. "We need a plan," I murmured, weighing the options. A narrow window appeared next to us, but what lay beyond it was an uncertain abyss that might land us right into the hands of the very danger we sought to avoid. The girl caught my gaze, her eyes wide. With a resolve I didn't quite feel, I turned to face the door again. "On three," I said, trying to rally our courage. "1, 2, 3. We burst from the closet, both of us colliding with the figure at the threshold. It was a towering man dressed in dark clothing, a look of brute force etched across his face. The surprise in his eyes momentarily gave us a fraction of a second. I shoved the girl behind me, instinct telling me to protect her at any cost. Without thinking, I tackled the man, hoping that adrenaline might give me the edge I desperately needed. We collided heavily against the wall, the impact leaving an echo that vibrated through my bones. He grunted and shoved me aside, the girl gasping as she darted toward the door. "No!" I shouted, scrambling to my feet. I lunged for her again, realizing just how precious every second was. My heart raced painfully as the man spun around, his expression a mix of surprise and indignation. What came next happened rapidly. The girl, defying the odds, ducked low and darted through the doorway just as the man turned back, his hand reaching for her. I lunged again, grasping at her shirt. "Get out!" I yelled, feeling the crushing weight of responsibility. As she slipped through, I felt a blinding flash of fear for her safety. The moment I shoved her through the door, the man rectified his path, angrily barreling toward me. I braced myself for the inevitable contact. Time seemed to stretch as I glanced one last time at the girl run. I screamed as he seized me, strong hands wrapping around my throat. In the chaos, a low growl of defiance rumbled from behind. To my surprise, Luna emerged from the shadows, her fur bristling, the small cat tackling the man's leg with an unexpected ferocity. He stumbled back, momentarily distracted, allowing me to twist away and scramble to my feet. Go! I shouted again, but the girl was already disappearing down the hall, a flicker of safety that lifted my spirits. I had to keep fighting, to push through the pain and confusion. The man roared in frustration, tearing through the space with a surprising speed, but just as he lunged toward me again, something bright and unexpected exploded at the end of the corridor. Scattergun fire rang out, causing everyone to freeze. "What the hell are you doing?" A new voice boomed, filled with authority and tension that sliced through the air. I turned, and relief flooded through me as I recognized it. Off-duty security personnel responding to the evening's chaos. The man released me, confusion flashing across his face as he tried to assess the new threat. It was enough time for me to regain my footing and take stock of the situation. The girl had disappeared down the hall, her face a mixture of fear and determination, leaving me in a whirlwind of chaos. But just as hope flickered in my chest, a chilling thought pierced through my mind. Had she only been a victim, or was there something more to her story? "Are you all right?" one of the guards asked as I regained my balance, but my mind was already racing. If the girl was in danger, then so was Anna. What had I summoned into my life by stepping away from security? I needed answers, but more importantly, I needed to get to Anna. As I turned to run, the world around me spun a kaleidoscope of emotions. I felt the weight of secrets and shadows drawing me deeper, but one thing was clear: I wouldn't stop until I found out what was truly happening. Just as adrenaline surged through my veins again, my phone vibrated once more, another message from Anna lighting up the screen. "I'm worried. Please come home." The implication struck deep, igniting a dark fear I'd yet to confront. Time wasn't on my side, and as I sprinted down the hall, a deep knot of dread formed in my stomach. The girl wasn't the only one in danger now. I had unwittingly placed all I loved at risk. With each step, the pounding of my heart matched the tempo of uncertainty. With every moment, the cliff's edge drew nearer, and the truth loomed like an ominous shadow behind me, waiting to reveal itself. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as I tore through the dimly lit halls, my breath ragged, each exhale sending a fresh wave of panic through me. Anna's words echoed relentlessly, a relentless reminder of my failure to keep her safe. "Please come home." The message felt like a lifeline, one I couldn't afford to ignore. As I rounded a corner, the cacophony of shattering glass and distant shouting drowned out my racing thoughts. My heart sank. I wasn't simply running towards something now, I was desperately sprinting away from the possibility of losing everything that mattered. I stumbled upon a group of the security team, their eyes wide with confusion and urgency. One of them, a sturdy woman with determination etched on her face, intercepted me. "What's going on?" she demanded, her voice sharp, eyes darting as she tried to assess the situation. "The girl. We have to find her," I gasped, urgency spilling out of me. "Andy need to get home to Anna." Focus, "Well, deal with the girl later." We set up a perimeter, she instructed, but my mind was already flickering back to the uncertainty surrounding the mysterious girl. She couldn't be merely a victim caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was something more, an air of snarled complexity about her words, the defiance in her stance. Something told me this all intertwined, a tapestry woven with shadows, danger, and secrets. Wait, I started, but she was already moving, barking orders to the other guards. Get the exit blocked, everyone. We don't know if other intruders are inside. Panic clawed at my insides. I turned to slip past her, but she grabbed my arm. You don't understand. There's a lot at stake. If you saw something, you need to tell us. I haven't seen anything. Just the girl. I shouted back, my voice breaking. The sheer weight of anxiety hung like a dense fog, the memory of her frightened face urging me on. She needs help. You have to believe me. We have to find her before they do. Her grip faltered as she weighed my desperation against her duty as a guard. All right, but try to stay calm. Well, handle things, she finally conceded, releasing me. With a nod, I was off again, darting through the maze of corridors littered with debris from the earlier chaos. My mind raced, flashes of the girl's fearful eyes circling back to me like moths drawn to a flame. She had revealed so little, yet it had pierced through my heart like a dart. The moment I had promised to protect her in the madness had now transformed into a quest for understanding. Just then, my phone buzzed and a new message from Anna. Frantically, I snatched it up, my fingers shaking as I read her words. Please, I feel strange. Where are you? My pulse quickened anew, fear gripping my chest. Anna. I muttered, panic thickening the air around me. Exhausted yet propelled by the love that knotted in my chest, I sprinted toward the emergency exit, the world outside beckoning like a distant sanctuary, confident that I would find answers there. But halfway down, I heard a low humming sound that sent my heart plummeting. It was a song, soft and haunting, dancing toward me from further inside the building. I hesitated, torn between the warmth of Anna's safety and the chilling pull of curiosity surrounding the girl. The melody carried an otherworldly essence, promising secrets hidden beyond the veil that separated fear from understanding. Compelled by an unseen force, I veered off toward the sound, urging my feet to follow as I whispered to myself, one more moment, just one more moment of truth. As I turned a corner, the haunting song grew louder, enveloping me in its ethereal embrace. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. Silence wrapped around me, a weighty shroud thick with apprehension. Please, show yourself, I called out softly, willing the girl to reveal her truth. The eye in the distance, a flicker of movement caught my eye, a flash of color, and the girl stepped into the dim light, this time her face marred with bruises, her eyes wild and terrified. But there was something else, an unyielding flicker of bravery. You shouldn't have followed me. She exclaimed, voice trembling, fear morphing into urgency once more. Why? I asked. Where's Anna? Tell me what's going on. But her next words rendered my blood cold. They're coming for her, too. They know you're involved now and they won't stop until they have what they want. Suddenly, the air crackled with tension, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from around the corner. The sense of imminent danger surged back into my chest, and my world shifted. What do you mean they want her? I demanded, the frantic beat of my heart matching the footsteps drawing nearer. The girl met my gaze with an intensity that pierced through me, and in that moment, I realized we weren't merely facing danger, we were teetering on the precipice of something far more sinister, something intertwined with my life. I can't explain. You have to trust me. We need to go. The footsteps grew louder, a drumbeat heralding my nightmare. In an instant, I felt the shadow of despair creep over my heart, constricting it. The choice was clear, but the cost was unfathomable. We turned to flee together, but in the chaos, a distant sound tugged at my heart, the unmistakable shrill ring of my phone yet again, this time the screen lighting up with Anna's name. In that fragile, fleeting moment before we bolted into the shadows, I stood at the precipice of a choice I had never wanted to face. Would I grab the call, risk revealing my location to those hunting us, or flee into the darkness, abandoning everything I cared for in pursuit of survival? Driven by panic, I chose a choice that would surely alter the course of our lives forever, as the threads of fate tangled tighter around us. The silhouette of the girl blurred as I stared at the glowing screen of my phone, Anna's name pulsating with an urgency that mirrored my own tumultuous heart. The weight of everything hung in balance, a delicate tightrope stretching into the abyss of uncertainty. If I answered, I risked not only my own exposure putting us both at the mercy of whatever malevolent force tailed us, but I would also be leaving the girl vulnerable, perhaps sealing someone else's fate. My instincts screamed to flee, but the imploring thoughts of Anna's warmth, her laughter, and all the moments that had filled our home with light surged forward, drowning out the chaos. I closed my eyes briefly, casting away the momentary urges of self-preservation and instead clutching onto the shattered pieces of my life tethered to her. Don't answer it, the girl hissed, panic lacing her tone as she neared. We have to go. The footsteps were closing in, their rhythmic thud a constant reminder of the swift approach of danger. I did not have time to deliberate, especially not with the girl's desperate plea urging me back to reality. Still, the tension coiling around my heart tugged at my resolve, wanting just one last connection, one reassuring voice in the dark. With a shaking hand, I pressed the green button, answering the call, determined that my voice might not betray our location. Anna? I whispered, my voice breaking, caught in the tension of impending calamity. Where are you? Anna's voice cut through the static, threading warmth into the void. I'm scared. Please, I feel like something's happening here, Anna. My voice rose, laced with anguish as I was hit with the cold realization that whatever shadow had crept into our lives was now merging with Anna's safety. I need you to stay where you are. I'm coming, I promise. Do you hear that? She interrupted, her breath rising in tempo, laced with panic. Someone is outside my window. They were watching me. The girl's face blanched, fear pooling in her eyes. You need to get her out. They can't find her, Anna. Lock the doors. I barked frantically, grabbing the girl's arm, pulling her toward an emergency exit tucked away in the shadows. I can't talk long. Just stay inside. As I hung up, resolute and driven by the need to protect both lives intertwined with my own nightmarish reality, I felt the descent of hopelessness clawing its way into my chest. How could I be in two places at once, both strewn with danger? We need a plan. The girl urged, her intensity shifting gears. If they spotted her, they may already have men outside her home. We can't go directly there. We need to regroup and find a safe place. Regroup? My heart raced not just from fear, but from the flickers of frustration lighting up within me. How can we regroup when I don't even know who they are, or what they want with her? My daughter is out there, and there's no way I'm leaving her behind. Stay focused. She snapped back, her eyes sparkling with that same resilience I had noticed before. We can't let our emotions put us in danger. You need to trust me. I've been there, I know how they operate. I don't even know who you are. I retorted, the impending danger rising to meet my own fears, but beneath the surface, a waning spark of hope tugged at the edges of my worry. We don't have time for this, she exclaimed, dragging me further along the dim corridor, quicker with each step as the footsteps of our pursuers reverberated behind us. I'm not your enemy. If you want to save your daughter, you'll need to work with me. A spark ignited in that moment, a desperate flicker of hope laced with the edge of despair. Gripping her arm tighter, I pushed through the emotional turmoil, allowing the truth to settle within me. Perhaps we were both here for a reason. Fate had dragged the two of us into this chaos for something beyond the banality of our lives. Rounding a corner, shadows danced across the floor ahead, momentarily swallowing the darkness creeping at our heels. There's a fire exit up ahead, the girl pointed, her determination unwavering. If we can reach that, we might stand a chance. On three, I said, dropping the weight of my fears for just a moment, pushing my trust into her. 1, 2, and then, another voice broke through the cacophony, a low, menacing growl followed by a harsh laugh echoed from the darkness, sending ice coursing through my veins. You think you can get away from us? I froze, the sound slicing through my heart like glass. The future I had envisioned for Anna, without fear, disintegrated in an instant, replaced with a chilling sense of foreboding. The girl turned to me, her expression shifting to one of urgency, urging me forward. Run, but it was as if I were rooted to the ground, each word locking me firmly in place. A chilling realization welled up within me. What if I couldn't save her after all? In that pivotal moment, as adrenaline surged and I willed my body to move, the shadows around us shifted, revealing three figures, cloaked in menace, standing at the exit. I stifled a scream, my heart another beat behind, racing against time. Just as the echoing laughter intensified, something in me snapped, propelling me into motion. Go! I shouted to the girl, adrenaline pumping a current of urgency through me. Get to the exit. With a sudden determination burning anew, I realized it wasn't just my life at stake, Anna Marie, it was Anna's, the girl's, and perhaps a darkness that had been lurking long before the night shift began battling shadows. And as distance closed between us and the figures emerging from the darkness, the knowledge that we were hurtling towards something greater than any of us could have foreseen gripped my heart. The question remained, how deep did this rabbit hole go, and were we on the brink of discovery or destruction? The shadows seemed to pulse, merging into a monstrous form that loomed ever closer. With every thud of boot against cold concrete, the world I once found familiar felt like a distorted echo of reality. I hurled myself forward, dragging the girl along with me, the icy grip of fear making my heart hammer against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat that drowned out everything else. Stay close. I barked, desperation making my voice razor-sharp. Every beat of my heart was a countdown, a reminder that we were racing against unseen monsters with motives I couldn't begin to fathom. The emergency exit was tantalizingly close, a glowing orange sign flickering with promises of safety. But it felt miles away as we sprinted, my thoughts agonizingly fixed on Anna, her face a haunting visage in my mind full of innocence, laughter, and now, unmistakable fear. Keep running! The girl pushed ahead, glancing back just long enough to gauge the distance that separated us from whatever hunted us. They won't let you go without a fight. I wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all, the way life had twisted into a night of absolute terror. Every corner turned brought a new rush of adrenaline, mingling with dread as I registered the sounds of pursuit growing nearer. Memories of playdates, parent-teacher meetings, and pajama parties flickered through my mind like the strobe lights from a nightclub, vivid, exhilarating, but ultimately, a cruel reminder of what I stood to lose. Just as we reached the fire exit, the rattling handle sent a bolt of hope surging through me. But I hesitated, fear threading through my veins like a poison. What if Anna was already gone? What if she was waiting for rescue that would never come? Let's go! The girl yelled, her voice cutting through my despair as she yanked open the door. A gust of cool air rushed in, promising an escape, a chance to break free of the nightmarish clutches of whatever traumas awaited us inside. I stepped over the threshold, but the sound of heavy footsteps erupted closer behind us, twisting a knot of dread tighter within my gut. We stumbled into the darkness outside, the weight of the night casting heavier shadows upon us. But the unfamiliar chill wasn't only from the cold, it was the feeling of impending doom, the knowing that somewhere in the darkness lay figures with malicious intent. The girl peered left and right, her brow furrowed. We need to hide. Find somewhere. Now. The sharpness in her voice broke through the fog of despair, jarring me into action. In that moment, not far off, the dim outline of a dumpster caught my eye, a cramped space hidden behind aged bricks and forgotten piles of refuse. It was stifling and disgusting, but offered the only shred of cover within sight. Over there. I pointed, already moving toward it. Our breath came out in foggy puffs, and I could feel my heart struggling against the confines of my chest. As we ducked inside, the stench engulfed us, a blend of rot and despair that mirrored the chaos spinning in my mind. The girl's shoulder brushed against mine, and for a moment, I felt an odd sense of connection. Two scared souls cloistered in the remnants of a dumpster, united in our fight for survival. A quick glance revealed the girl's expression had shifted to one of steely resolve. I could see her taking deep breaths, grounding herself in the chaos. Listen carefully, she whispered, her words barely above a breath. We stay still until they pass. If they see us, we can't afford to panic. It's about survival now. I nodded, huddling closer to her, feeling the drumming of my heart echo in the darkness. Time stretched out like taffy, each second a taut thread of anticipation as we listened to the distant thuds of footsteps, the murmurs of searchers determined to find us. Every sound was amplified in that dark space, every creak and rustle heightening my anxiety. I clenched my fists, fighting back the rush of fear rising up my throat like bile. If only I could reach Anna, to soothe her fears, to explain somehow that this madness wasn't the end. Minutes passed, but every single one felt like an hour. We have to move quickly when they leave, the girl breathed, her voice trembling slightly, betraying an understanding of terror that mirrored my own. In that moment, a deep pang of uncertainty washed over me as I considered what awaited us if we escaped, but also what awaited Anna if we failed. Swallowing back the looming despair, I could barely hear the closing footsteps as they blended into the night air. Suddenly, there was a scream, piercing, sharp, and unmistakably human. It split through the night like a knife, sending shockwaves of panic coursing through my veins. "That wasn't Anna," I breathed, horrified by the sheer desperation laced into the cry of the girl caught my eye, raw fear mingling with fierce determination. "It doesn't matter whose voice that was. What matters is that we have to move now." In that moment, before my breath could catch, before I could think about Anna or what might happen next, I propelled myself out of the dumpster, driven by a primal fear for my child. But as I turned to reach for the girl, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in the very darkness I had feared the laughing specter from moments before. The young woman, so seemingly composed, was unsheathed in her own panicked expression as the looming figure swept close to. I stumbled backward, caught between the agonizing choice of confronting the emerging threat or fleeing toward the abyss of what lay beyond. The night suddenly felt impossibly heavy, pressing down with the weight of unending choices. "Who are you? What do you want?" I shouted, my heart pounding wildly, mirroring the cacophony of my thoughts. And as the figure stepped into the dim light, a familiar face revealed itself, shaking the core of my resolve. It was someone I never expected to see again, someone whose reappearance could change everything, both for better and for worse. With my heart lodged in my throat, I faced the darkness head-on, reckoning not only with the choices that had led me here but with outcomes I had never dared to dream potential. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demanded, my voice wavering under the weight of shock. This encounter could lead to salvation or it could unravel every desperate hope I clung to. The figure emerged fully from the shadows, and an icy breath rushed past my lips. "Jason. My brother, the one who had vanished years before without a trace." His absence felt like an elephant in the room I had spent countless nights learning to live without. Yet here he stood, looking as weary and disheveled as I finally felt, but somehow carrying an intensity that made it hard to fathom how he had survived. "Jason?" My voice cracked, laced with confusion and a deep-rooted dread. I had imagined this reunion 1,000 times, but this was not the way it was supposed to happen. His eyes, once filled with mischief, now mirrored a raw vulnerability that unsettled me. "Listen, there's no time." He rushed, scanning the darkness behind me. "They're coming, and if they find you, what do you mean?" "Find me? Are you?" I stumbled over my words, the onslaught of emotions battling within. Joy and despair, relief and anguish, clashed like titans in my chest. "You just disappeared." I thought I was dead?" He said it with a harsh edge, pain etched in the lines around his mouth. "I thought so too. A lot of things have happened since then, but the important part is that I'm here now, and we need to go. Now." A rumbling thought invaded my mind, one I couldn't quite shake off. Why now? Why here? A frantic cocktail of questions simmered, each one more urgent than the last. But the insistent slamming of my heart against my ribcage registered the urgency of my situation. The girl, who had slipped back into the shadows of apprehension, reminded me we had to act. "You don't understand," I said to Jason, casting a glance over my shoulder. "I have to find Anna." "If they have her, if she's Anna?" The shift in his expression was instant. "You have a daughter? Is she with them, not with them?" "Not yet." Fear squeezed around my throat, tightening until every word felt like a struggle. "We were separated. They took her. I have to find her. No. We can't focus on that right now. What I can tell you, if we don't get out of here, it won't matter. Well, I'll be next." His voice trembled, a silence hanging heavily between us before he continued, "I will help you, but you have to trust me." For once, could I trust him? Just hours ago, my world felt shattered, and now my brother, the ghost of a boy forever tethered to childhood dreams, was a living reminder of the fractures that plagued our family. "I've seen the things they do," he continued, urgency seeping into each syllable. "I can't let you fall back into their hands. You have to believe me." I needed hope, not merely the diluted kind, but something more potent, something tangible that could bridge the gap between darkness and light. Perhaps Jason was that flicker I desperately needed, against all odds. As his eyes bore into mine, an unspoken pact formed in the fragile space between us, memories of our shared childhood igniting a warm resolve in the pit of my stomach. "Yes, okay," I relented, the word hanging between us thick with uncertainty. But we have to save Anna no matter what. Before he could respond, the echoing footsteps returned, heavier this time, accompanied by the low chatter of ominous voices. The sensation of urgency wrapped around us like an angry tide, leaving no time for further discussions. Now! Jason pressed, pulling me back into the shadows. The girl, still so small, edged closer to us, eyes wide with a mix of terror and a strange sense of hope. The three of us were entrenched in this tangle of peril, all fighting for survival under the fading glow of distant city lights. "I'll lead the way," Jason whispered as we edged toward the alley's end. "But remember, whatever happens, don't look back. Stay together." As we slipped deeper into the darkness, every step felt like a delicate dance between survival and chaos. The world I had known had shattered, leaving only this fragile thread of connection between us. And just as I began to formulate a plan, something brushed against my leg, an ominous crackling sound igniting a wave of panic. I turned to see the girl gasping, mouth agape, as her gaze locked onto something behind me, a figure moving in the shadows. "What is it?" My breath quickened, spiraling towards hysteria as I grasped her shoulder. Before I could turn to see what had paralyzed her, a powerful beam of light illuminated the alley, slicing through the night's darkness like a knife. Paralyzed, we stood frozen as the searchlights swept over us, a daunting prelude to our undoing. Shadows danced as they shifted, dragging with them an unsettling sense of inevitability. Then a voice echoed from the mouth of the alley, hoarse and dripping with malice. "There they are. Get them." Before the dread could settle deep into my bones, Jason jerked toward me, his expression ghostly. "Run!" Adrenaline surged, propelling us forward. As my heart raced toward an uncertain future, the distinct sound of approaching footsteps reverberated behind us, a relentless pursuit that would not relent. And then, with piercing clarity, an anxious realization blossomed. It wasn't merely my daughter at stake anymore. My brother's return tilted the balance, with looming implications that could lead to our salvation or the complete unraveling of our fragile hope. In that moment, I realized that between the light returning with my brother and the darkness threatening to reclaim us, lies the very essence of love, fear, and the endless loop of survival. But what awaited us at the tunnel's end, as the clutches of our pursuers tightened, was a question I no longer had the strength to fathom. The air thickened with tension as we darted through the narrow alley, our footsteps muffled by the shuffle of forgotten debris. I kept my hand firmly grasped around the girl's wrist, the warmth of her small body a comforting reminder that we were not alone in this fight. Jason led the way with an urgency that transcended fear. I could feel his determination like a tether pulling me forward, almost magnetically left. He directed sharply as we came upon a junction littered with broken glass and crumbling bricks. I glanced back, heart thumping violently as shadows loomed closer behind us. I fought against instinct, urging myself not to turn around. Instead, I focused on the flickering hope embedded within the chaos: me brother, my daughter, and the fragile possibility of family once more. As we pressed on, the alley began to twist and turn. Each corner felt like a desperate bid for survival, but Jason's instincts were sharp, each decision calculated out of not only self-preservation but a deep-seated need to protect. I had never felt so utterly dependent on someone else before, and the irony stung. For years, I had carried the weight of our family's fractured past alone. Now, it was Jason who mustered strength when all I felt was a tired resignation. "What happened to you?" I quietly asked, trying to normalize the unnerving reality of our reunion, my words barely punctuating the desperate air between us. I needed to understand, to reconcile who he was now with the brother I had lost. A lot, he replied curtly, maintaining focus ahead. "I can't explain it all now. Just know I'm here for you, but trust me when I say some roads are meant to be left untraveled." I opened my mouth to press for more, but the urgency of our flight closed the words in my throat. The sound of pursuing footsteps echoed, relentless and menacing. I had never felt time stretch and contract like this, each moment a lifetime of tension, hope, and dread entwined. Up ahead, a rickety fire escape loomed against the iron-gray sky, its silhouette promising an escape even as it creaked ominously under the glow of the flickering street lamp. Jason halted abruptly, casting a wary glance around, and I felt a wild flutter of fear. My heart began to race, amplifying the world into a dizzying blur. "Climb," he ordered. The girl looked up at me, and I drew in a breath, seeing her reflection of my own uncertainty. Could she truly scale the heights of fear and uncertainty? I nodded down at her, mustering a smile that felt more like a mask than an expression of actual reassurance. "Go." I urged, not allowing myself to think about the dangers looming just behind us. She scrambled up the metal rungs with surprising ease for someone so small. Behind her, I felt Jason grip my shoulder, his voice low and frantic. "If they catch us, there's no coming back. We have to move." Adrenaline coursed through me as I propelled myself upward, every muscle straining. I followed the girl, my thoughts galvanizing into single-minded determination. She reached the top first, her small feet finding respite on the edge of the rooftop. I pulled myself up just as Jason followed, our eyes wide as we surveyed the landscape beneath. For a fleeting moment, we stood together, heart pounding in sync. A haunting stillness draped over the cityscape, broken only by the distant echo of sirens and the relentless pursuit that still clawed below. We exchanged glances, an unspoken understanding blooming in the silence. Somehow, we'd made it here against all odds. Then I heard Ida rustling, ominous and too close for comfort. The echoes of pursuit drew nearer, creeping like shadows clawing at the edges of our resolve. Jason's tense face ignited with an urgency that was almost palpable. "We can't stay here." Without hesitation, he edged toward a ventilation shaft jutting out from the roof. My heart sank. The opening looked small, constrictive. How could we possibly escape through that? But what choice did we have? The girl was still frightened, clinging to the hope that we would be safe, so I followed Jason's lead, swallowing my doubts as I climbed toward the shaft. As I squeezed inside, I felt the world compress, sounds muffled but somehow magnified, enveloping us in claustrophobic darkness. My body barely fit, the metal edges digging into my sides as I wriggled forward, each inch a tiny victory tinged heavily with anxiety. "You okay back there?" Jason's voice echoed through the confined space. "Why yeah," I stammered, the darkness feeling suffocating. I glanced back at the girl, her small frame looking even smaller in here. "You're doing great." Just as hope flickered brightly, a sudden realization struck me like a blow. Where did we hide if they found the shaft? I caught Jason's eye, and our shared fear amplified in the dim light. There was something visceral about this moment. We had survived the streets, battled shadows, and yet the true challenge loomed ahead. As the sound of boots thundered below us, I caught a glimpse of reflective metal, an ominous badge. The realization unfolded: they weren't just after us, they were hunting Jason. A haunting question settled in my mind: what had he become? "Jason," I whispered, dread coiling tightly around my heart. "What did you get involved in?" He didn't answer right away, but in the breaths that hushed the chaos outside, I could feel the weight of his truth ready to tumble down into the abyss we were fleeing. The air shifted, electric with implications and secrets spiraling together, ready to unravel with our every attempt to escape. Behind us, footsteps grew stagnant, the resources exhausted on this urban exploration. Time faltered, a slow dissolve that left sharp edges of uncertainty. "They've found us," Jason breathed, and as a tremor traced the pitch of his voice, it echoed with the painful weight of choice. In our darkest hour, as we hid within the shadows of that shaft, trepidation hardened the future we fled toward, but just what lay beyond those confines remained an overwhelming question that wove a blazing thread through our hearts, thickening with the uncertainty of what would come next. The air felt electric, saturated with the tension of unspoken truths as we huddled inside the cramped shaft. The dim light barely seeped through, and I felt utterly swallowed by the tightness, the metallic confines pressing against my shoulders, my breath shallow against the slick metal walls. "It's okay," I murmured again to the girl, though uncertainty dripped from my words. Her wide eyes glimmered with a cocktail of fear and bravery as she clutched my hand tightly. I could sense Jason's own strain spilling over. He was fighting his own demons as well, each breath a battle between past and present. "What did you get involved in?" I pressed again, desperate for clarity but understanding that answers also held the potential for devastation. Jason's silence interrupted our frantic heartbeat in the dark. "Will you just trust me?" His voice, usually so steady, cracked slightly like glass under pressure. I felt a swell of sympathy, the kind that tugged at an old bond that had been buried under years of absence. He had already endured so much, there was no need to burden him further. But lingering questions wrapped around my heart like thorny vines. Why had he been living in the shadows? What awaited us above our makeshift refuge? My thoughts spiraled until I forced myself back to the girl, her grip warm even through the dark cloak of doubt that swept over us. The footsteps below hushed, and a chilling realization washed over. Meth world outside had slowed, waiting. Every creeping shadow beneath the surface suggested sanctuary could soon become a trap. What if they don't leave? I whispered, though the mere thought almost made me sick. Our presence here felt like a beacon for those hunting us, and being noticed could send the pounding heart of our little family back into the chaos we had fought so hard to escape. They will, Jason replied, tight-lipped but resolute. They always do when they're hunting. Just give it a few moments. Those moments stretched into eternity. In the heavy stillness, I was acutely aware of the small girl beside me, her innocence stark against the darkness enclosing us. I could feel the doubt surging within me, crushing weight of responsibility. What had I dragged her into? A battle forged from the remnants of my own past. Seconds slipped away, heavy with expectation. Just when I thought our breaths would drown out every sound, a voice echoed from below, friendly, inquisitive. Hey! You down here? We know you're hiding. Come out, and maybe we can help. Startled, I shared a frantic glance with Jason. Help? From whom? The voice had a deceptive pitch, laced with familiarity, yet an undercurrent of insidious intent lapped at my cautious mind like icy water against stone. Don't listen to them, Jason whispered, the urgency in his voice flipping over the fragility of hope. We can't trust anyone right now. For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flicker of movement beyond the opening of the shaft, light igniting through cracks in the shadows, promising salvation that felt unfathomable yet so vividly palpable. What if it's a trick? I whispered back to Jason, my voice trembling as the fear tightened my throat. What if they just want to lure us out? I don't know. Just be quiet. We have to wait. It was all the reassurance Jason could muster, and in that dim light, I glimpsed the ghost of my brother flickering between the walls, haunted by choices I couldn't yet fathom. But one truth nagged viciously at the edges of my mind: if this was a play for our lives, what had Jason truly done to warrant this much danger? I had dreamed of reconnecting, of sliding back into the simplicity of brotherhood, but each moment spent in this claustrophobic void disengaged me deeper from that vision. And then silence fell again, thick and ominous, until it was shattered by the clattering of feet echoing above, punctuated by hushed voices discussing tactics. Their confidence clawed at me. They knew something we did not. Stay close, Jason murmured, his warmth slipping away as he edged forward in the confined space. What are you doing? I shot back, realizing his movements did not bode well. Anxiety raced through me, and I squeezed the girl's hand tighter. Jason, don't. Well, be exposed. But it was too late. He pushed upward, trying to peer through the slits in the metal where the real world faintly glowed, a stark contrast to the dark body of our hiding place. Jason, no. I gasped as anxiety clenched my chest tighter than the shaft's cold edges. This is our chance. He finally breathed, his voice strained but determined, the essence of survival almost sparking in his eyes. Yet, as he squinted above, the words spilled from his lips and ricocheted against the stillness around us. The truth hung inexplicably thick in the air as he muttered, I need to know if they're coming for us. It dawned on Meth Hunt was personal. Jason, please, my voice cracked with the weight of desperation. But I knew it was futile. In that breathless moment, his eyes glinted with something dangerously sharp, and in that instant a bombshell detonated in my mind. The realization dawned, suffocating and bright. My brother wasn't just a victim of circumstance, he was entwined in something far darker. And I was minutes away from plunging into a revelation that might tear apart whatever little hope remained for our fragile family, for the girl especially, whose innocence stood in stark contrast to the nature of our emerging reality. What if they're here for more than just you? I whispered, a dread consuming my heart as my thoughts spiraled out of control. Another shiver ran through me, unshakable in the face of what was about to unfold. Just then, muffled voices drew nearer, until suddenly, a figure loomed overhead, face shadowed but unmistakably seeking. I stifled a gasp. The world was shifting anew, straining against the weight of secrets that threatened to erupt, forever altering the fragile dynamics between us. The tumult of emotions swelled in my chest, an anxious knot tightening as I realized we were not just fighting for survival anymore. We were entwined in a game far too complex for us, and I was no longer sure who the enemy truly was. The tension crackled around us as the figure stood silhouetted against the dim light. Fear gripped my heart, and every instinct urged me to pull back, to hide deeper within the cramped confines of the shaft. But I couldn't. Not now. Not when Anna's safety depended on this moment. Stay still, Jason warned, but I could see the anxiety dancing in his gaze, a reflection of the desperation that pooled in my own chest. I steadied my grip on the girl beside me, feeling her heartbeat sync with my own, a rhythm that battled against the terror of the unknown. "Please, we just want to help." The voice echoed again, smoother this time, laced with false assurance. There was something unsettling in that warmth, an invitation that felt like poison. I suppressed a shiver, daring to peer through the narrow slits Jason had cautiously opened. My heart raced as more figures emerged, their faces both familiar and foreign, agents of the chaos that had invaded my life. "They've been looking for you, Jason," one called out, their voice dripping with feigned concern. My brother tensed beside me, the weight of secrets pressing heavily on him. I could see the flicker of recognition cross his face, a sliver of his past bleeding into our present. The girl beside me shivered, her small body trembling at the ominous atmosphere. I leaned closer to her, whispering, "We have to move. We can't stay here." The darkness felt more like a trap with each passing moment, the shadows tangling around us like chains, but Jason remained fixed in place, his conflict palpable. "They're lying. They've always lied to us," he hissed back, flames of defiance lighting his eyes. Beneath our feet, the ground felt as if it were quaking beneath the weight of our choice. Should we follow his instincts or plunge into a chaos that could seal our fate? And as if confirming my worst fears, another figure stepped toward the light, the edges of their intentions flickering like a candle caught in a storm. "You think you can just hide forever? You can't escape your past, Jason. Not now, not ever." The words cut like shards of glass, sharp and merciless. The girl gasped, the innocence of her youth stark against the backdrop of this tempest. "Why are they after you?" she whispered, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. The question lingered in the air, taut with anticipation. Jason's gaze fell to me, and in that wordless exchange, a decision took form. The choice was heavy with layers of history, betrayal, and the intricate web that bound our lives. I realized then that this moment wasn't just a pivot point in our fight for survival, it was the culmination of years of choices that had drifted us to this very edge. I needed to know the truth to free him from the shackles of his past and reclaim my own future with Anna once and for all. Their motives are intertwined, aren't they? I breathed, forcing clarity through the panic that gripped my chest. "What do they want from you, Jason? What are you hiding?" Each question was a nail in the coffin of my resolve, desperate for the light of truth amid the consuming shadows. A glimmer broke in his eyes, a spark of determination laced with regret. "They want what I know. There's a reason I disappeared." He took a small breath, the moment stretching between us like a taut wire ready to snap. "But you need to trust me. I'll explain everything, but we can't stay here long." Behind us, the agents traded wary looks, closing in as my brother's conviction fractured the air. Their pursuit began anew, reigniting the fire of aggression simmering just beneath the surface. "Let us help you," they beckoned, voices weaving an impossible web. "We just need the information. You know the answers we seek." But inside my heart, the echo of Jason's truth collided with the haunting memories of betrayal from our past, serving only to bolster my hesitation. This was a delicate dance, a cruel game of chess where our lives hung in the balance. "You can't trust them," I whispered fervently, inches away from the precipice of a decision I knew could alter everything. Before I could process my fear, Jason surged ahead, eyes burning with defiance. "You don't understand what they're capable of. If you think running will protect you from the depths of this alliance, you're gravely mistaken." And for a moment, all uncertainty blurred at the edges, fading into clarity. I had to fight, not just for my brother, but for the girl and Anna, too. This wasn't just his battle, it was ours. "Let's move," I barked to the girl, gripping her small hand again. I could feel her trembling against the shadows, her fortitude melding with my determination. Just as we bolted, my heart pounding a rhythm of survival, the voices escalated in chaos behind us. "Don't let them escape." The girl flinched, but I met her wide eyes with fierce reassurance. "Stay close. We'll get through this." As we bolted down the ventilation shaft, Jason led the way. Illumination from the outside broke through the direction we moved toward, an urging radiance that beckoned us to freedom. My heart thundered, each pulse urging us forward toward safety, toward Anna. But a creeping shadow lingered behind, a sense of inevitability ready to capture us anew. "What if they find us?" the girl whimpered, the tension in her voice ringing with vulnerability. "They want," I answered more confidently than I felt, each kick propelling us toward hope. "We have to believe in our strength." Murmurs of encouragement drew us in closer as the world narrowed, the aroma of the city growing fainter with each pulse of desperation. Yet, Just as we neared the exit, a door lurched open ahead, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness, another threat lurking just beyond the light. I felt a gut-wrenching fear twist through me. The shadows were sirens crooning for us to heed the allure of impossibility. Stop! The command echoed, and without thinking, I launched forward, pushing the girl behind, and that's when everything ripped wide open. A shattering sound rattled the air, spotlighting chaos, as the man stepped too close, arms outstretched, reaching for Jason while his gaze pierced through me like a searing flame. "You really think you can outrun this?" He spat, cold laughter echoing in the air, but something surged through me in that moment, an unwavering conviction. This was my story now. I would not let fear dictate the course of our lives any longer. I pushed forward, the girl quickening her step beside me while Jason gripped the desperation thrumming in reality. "You run!" I shouted, leading us through unknown tunnels of anguish and light. Each heartbeat pulsed with clarity as a wave of adrenaline launched us forward, chasing reality back to where it belonged. We were not mere specters of our past anymore. We were rising, ready to face every truth that awaited. As we raced toward the flickering light of freedom, I felt the air shift around us, lifting our spirits, but the sound of pursuers was relentless, a dark echo weaving into our shadows. Yet, we pushed through. I couldn't fail Anna. I wouldn't fail anyone again, and just as we broke through the exit, the sharp sting of the cold air sliced through us, a rush of freedom blending with fear. Everything fell silent for a heartbeat as we emerged into the moonlit night, illuminated by the city's glow, but the chase wasn't over. Shouts erupted behind us, the darkness stretching backward as if to ensnare us once more. "This way!" Jason called, but my heart raced with uncertainty. Where were we going? What lay ahead? Each breath filled my lungs with feigned courage. We had to fight, had to reclaim what had shattered. We sprinted into the unknown, united in fear but fortified by resilience that journeyed through the tangled fabric of our lives, battling against shadows clawing at our heels. For Anna. For the girl. For every shred of life that clung to hope. The truth surged and coiled around our hearts, and in that fading moment, we could fight not just for our past but for our future. And then, just as we gained a brief reprieve, came the heartbreak, an explosion echoing close by, fire illuminating the darkness, flames cascading toward us like a terrible ravenous beast. The ground shifted beneath me, and panic surged when I felt Jason's hand slip from mine. "Go!" he shouted as he turned back into the fray, determination blazing inside him. "I'll hold them back." "No!" I screamed, horror clawing at my heart as I extended my hand, but the darkness consumed him, and it felt as if everything crumbled anew. "Run! Get her to safety!" In that decisive heartbeat, everything halted. My heart screamed as I raced back toward the chaos, but the girl's trembling hand pulled me forward, her voice shimmering through the shadows, sparkling with something I almost believed. "Please, that way." She pointed toward an alley I hadn't noticed before, luminous beams of light cutting through the suffocating air, illuminating a fractured path of escape that tinged my heart with an unexpected surge of hope. And I knew the knit wasn't over. We could fight through the ruins, through the heartbreaking choices and the remnants of pain. We could carve our way back into the light, no matter the shadows that built walls around us. So, as I rejoined her in the flight of salvation, I held on to the truth, the echoes of love, of forgiveness, of reunion, dead set on battling through the darkness, whatever the cost, for love was the thread that intertwined our destinies, and through the heart of every struggle, a spark shimmered on the horizon. It was now or never, and as I regained my footing and rushed into the unraveling web of danger once more, I whispered into the night, "We will not fall. Not now. Not ever." The final confrontation loomed, but I was resolute. Love tied us together, and nothing could sever that bond. As we edged closer to whatever awaited us, I held on to that fire, that unwavering truth. Love always finds a way, and within surrendering to that faith, I found the strength to embrace my own vulnerability. And just above the chaos, a voice echoed in my heart, whispering through the folds of time, "Together, we'll navigate the shadows. Together, we rise."